I lost my wife, I lost my daughter, I lost my business. And this is a story of how I picked myself up. So when I first started out, I purchased my father's business off him. So he had one dream, which was to travel around Australia, but unfortunately he had an accident. But when we bought the business off him, it was turning over $200,000 a year, and we grew it to well over $1 million within 2 years. But life dealt us a massive blow. Wendy was expecting our second child, and she was rushed to Sydney Children's Hospital, and I went down with her. Now I thought everything was okay, so Wendy said, go back to the business, and I went back to the business. And no sooner got back in, and at those days, there was no mobile phones. My father came racing in and said, you need to ring Wendy at the hospital urgently. So I rang Wendy, and she'd been given some horrible news. That was that our daughter Helen really had a week or two to live. So I jumped in the car and I drove back to Sydney again. And I swore blind I would never ever leave her in that position ever again. And unfortunately, 6 months later, our son Mark was diagnosed with leukemia. And so again, we're off into Sydney to do the treatment stuff. I put a manager into the business at the time, and he was running the business. Now we were down there towards the end of the 2 years, and I got a call from the manager. And the manager rang up and said, he's shutting the doors on the business. Okay, how come? And he just hung up the phone and left us there at that. And what I'd found out afterwards was he was running the business into the ground, and he was racking up bills and all that sort of thing with one intention. That was to pick it all up at a fire sale, which he did. So we ended up in emergency housing over in Canberra. So there was myself, Wendy, and 4 kids. A good friend of mine there gave me a book. It was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now this book changed my life. So I started to learn how to build businesses and how I got into investment properties. I studied hard. I kept on learning and learning more about what I did wrong and how I could not do it again. And this is how I ended up building a massive property portfolio. So life was going really well. And then one day, after some tests, we had to go and see the doctor. We went in, the doctor said, sit down. And then he turned to Wendy and said, look, sorry, Wendy, I've got some bad news. The bad news was that she had terminal breast cancer. It felt like somebody had pulled the rug from under our legs. Just didn't know what had happened. At the time, I'm going, geez, I've let her down. Not spending any time with her, not spending time with the families, focused so much on the business so that it would never happen again, so I'd never lose the business again. We had no idea where we were going. But then we made a decision. We decided to take 6 months off and go travelling. Now, Wendy and I became best of friends in this time. We started travelling around, we used to play cards of a night, all the things we did when we first started going out. It was actually like we were just dating again. It was a wonderful feeling. We were so connected. It was great. It was how life should have been. And then unfortunately she passed away. And this is when I decided, there's got to be more to life. There's so many business owners out there that get stuck in their business, working day after day, and they forget what they're doing it for. They forget about the people, the things, the fun, the enjoyment that life should be, and they feel like they're trapped in their business with no escape. There's so much money that can be made out of businesses, but there's so much more to life than the money. I know how you feel. I've been there. I've lost everything, and I really don't want to see that happen to you. Business is meant to give you a life, not suck it out of you. And that's why I do what I do. So if you feel like you're trapped, you're spending so much time in your business, you can't spend time with your family, you can't remember the last time you had a holiday, you're not spending time with the loved ones, not really enjoying what you went into business for, feel free to reach out so you can get back to enjoying your time, enjoying your life, enjoying your freedom, and enjoy time with your family again.